Mr. Singhvi, Sri Arun Jaitley.
Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, I was just listening to my good friend Dr. Abhishek Singhvi, and he probably overstated his case, which he's very good at. He says that we stand condemned at the bar of public opinion in the last 17 years. In the 5 general elections held in the last 17 years, we were voted as the largest single party in parliament at least 3 times. We've been the 2nd largest party in the other 2 elections. I think overstating one's case for the purpose of advancing a political argument is understandable. I was wondering how to make a realistic assessment of the Liberhan report. Should I understate? And if I do understate and be more realistic as to what it is, as is apparent from the ATR, it's a report which is devoid of any credibility. It's a report which is an exercise in futility. A report which almost all the major media in this country has referred to as a dud report. A report which the ATR itself indicates that it's an unimplementable document. But if I go into each of the 999 pages of this report, along with its annexures, sir, factually, I cannot help but saying that this report is a fraud on a fact-finding process in the last 17 years. The first question which comes to light is, why did it take 17 years for the Commission to come to a recommendation which is being referred to as a dud recommendation? Was this opportunity being used by the gentleman who headed the Commission only to perpetuate a self-employment? There are probably indications coming from a former cabinet secretary to the effect, who dealt with him, to the effect that this was true. I don't want to go much into the leakage of the document, but the manner of its leak is almost as dubious as the contents of this report. My friend the Home Minister has categorically stated here that neither he nor any of his officials leaked the report. In fact, he was so cautious, he said that the only copy they had was in the lock and key. That is why perhaps the ATR was very difficult to make, because the report was in the lock and key. When the leak took place, sir, I mentioned that there was one other copy available, perhaps with the Commission itself. But after I read the report, I must correct myself. I think it was not 1 but 2 copies available outside the Home Ministry. One was perhaps with the chairman of the Commission, and the second, as is apparent from the contents of its report, with the de facto author of the report. And when I say de facto author, the Law Minister, Mr. Mirappa Mouli, is not here. I think if he takes a leaf out of this report, one of his proposed law reforms to expedite pendency of areas in the legal justice system would be judgment outsourcing. And this is what this report seems to have done. And the intrinsic evidence of who wrote the report is in the report itself. And I'll make it good, sir. I said, sir, that the ATR itself indicates it's an unimplementable document. Except for saying agreed, noted, or agreed with some political observations of the judge, all that the report says is, the ATR says, the Communal Violence Prevention of Control and Rehabilitation Victims Bill will be legislated. a bill on which the central legislature perhaps may have no legislative jurisdiction. And then it further says that some matters will be referred to the UPSC and some matters will be referred to the Election Commission. So I made a statement that the author appears to be somebody else. We are all familiar, at least some of my friends present here are as much familiar as me, or perhaps more, with the language a judge writes. The first training of a judge is never to enter the political thicket. He looks at the evidence, he looks at the issue which he has to decide, and he links the evidence with the issue and comes to a conclusion. He doesn't go into political disputes. He doesn't start commenting on ideologies as to which ideology is good, which is bad. If the judge does that, it becomes a commission which is not fact-finding, but a commission which is a commission with an ideology. And in this case, just let us read what the commission says in the last paragraph of its report, page 999. I am not only referring to the various political statements he has made. My friends in the left will be very pleased that the draftsperson of the report took some inspiration from Karl Marx and said religion is the opium of the masses. He starts his political document.
Only one line is there, not the full quotation. Not the full quotation.
So after the commission went on for hundreds of sittings, and for 17 years, the judge and the advocate assisting the judge, and the advocate assisting the judge even in today's Hindustan Times, has leaked out documents with his name mentioned, which he says were the IB reports available with the commission prior to 6th of December 1992. So the judge and the earlier advocate, Mr. Gupta, had probably differences. And the commission goes on to pass strictures against Mr. Gupta, saying that he betrayed my trust. So after the evidence was recorded, the entire arguments have been heard. This judge, whose familiarity with the Queen's language was somewhat inadequate, needed a draftsperson. So he gets another gentleman only for the purposes of helping him to draft the report. Now, what does the report need to be done? Somebody has to go through the evidence. Somebody has to get the ideas. What is the direction of your findings? He has to correct and put the language in place. And then he has to find who is guilty, who is not guilty. So he says in the last paragraph, lastly, I must be thankful to Shri Harpreet Singh Gyani, who has wholeheartedly spent days and nights over the last 1 year, that is after the hearings were completed, in helping me to do what? One, to analyze the evidence. Two, coming to the conclusions. Three, editing my report. Four, modifying the language. Five, adding to and modifying the ideas. And six, clearing up the mess created by others. So Mr. Gyani did all these things. Mr. Gyani did. Mr. Gyani.
Please.
Mr. Gyani. So Mr. Gyani analyzed the evidence. He came to the conclusions. He gave the ideas. He modified the report. He added to the language, and the judge did the rest. Sir, as I said, if this is possible, and the government in all seriousness can say we accept such a document, I think judicial outsourcing may perhaps be one of the reforms that Veerappa Moily should consider in his attempt to bring down areas. Perhaps that may speeden up our trials and judgment writing. This is how this document has been, sir, permitted. So the core question, and Dr. Singhvi was right when he said, the core question was, who demolished this structure? And what is the evidence against those people? Was there a conspiracy or was it a spontaneous reaction of a small group? It was possible on evidence to come to any of the findings. But the finding had to be based on the evidence and the material which was laid before the judge or the commission. The commission is to give a finding on evidence. The commission is not to give a political opinion. The commission is a truth investigator. A commission is not a political pundit. And I'm afraid that this judge, besides having outsourced the writing of this report, and either he or the outsource or the Home Ministry, anybody having leaked it out, ignored entire evidence which was laid before him, and then come to a finding which was completely inconsistent with what was stated in the report. Sir, since Dr. Singhvi says this is the highway, let's deal with this highway. I can go through each one of the pages which is mentioned, but for the benefit of some of my learned friends here, I'll mention the page. There were a large number of lawyers and parties who appeared on behalf of certain Muslim organizations. The judge records at page 15, no evidence was led or information provided to the commission with respect to the conspiracy or pre-planning or the joint common enterprise by any of these companies. So the persons who were naturally aggrieved, representatives of Muslim organizations, came up and said, we have no evidence to prove any conspiracy. Then he comes to the others, and at page 775 he says, no documentary or direct evidence is possible in a conspiracy of this manner, nor unimpeachable or firm evidence of some actions of planning of demolition is available. So I have no evidence of any planning which is available. Page 782, the Home Secretary, Mr. Godbole, appears as a witness. Home Secretary Godbole stated that there was no information of planning, and as such, it could not be inferred that there was a conspiracy of the Congress and the BJP for demolition. This could not be accepted on the face of it, particularly in the absence of any specific circumstances leading to such an inference. And then comes the entire intelligence agencies of this country and everybody else who had to give material. So at page 992 he says, neither the police nor the investigative team of the commission, that is neither the CBI was the police in this case, nor the investigative team of the commission, despite the prolonged process, was able to identify any witness, nor produce any witness, not a single witness, who could identify any of the demolishers or lead to any other evidence against suspects. Suspects were not even identified. Even after the unprecedented publicity throughout the long spell of inquiry, nobody came forward to advance the case or identify the persons who physically carried out the demolition or the ones who plotted the demolition. He then goes on to say at page 724, in totality it becomes obvious. This is when he indicts the RSS. While indicting the RSS, he says, you planned it, but you kept the political leaders out of your knowledge, their knowledge. And then he says, in totality it becomes obvious that some leaders were consciously kept out of the operational area or planning in order to protect them and preserve their secular credentials for later political use. On the political leadership, he says, page 994, the commission observes important leaders of political parties, icons of movements, organizers of the movement continuously issued statements from time to time in relation to the conspiracy of demolition, but no affidavit was filed before the commission by any of them. Sir, the police leads no evidence who demolished, or an evidence of who plotted. The Muslim organizations who were aggrieved have no evidence. No evidence is led by any political person. Not a single man is identified. And you wait merrily for 17 years and then come to a finding that, well, yes, it could not have happened without the knowledge of X, Y, and Z. Your ideology, which started in 1925, is like this. The RSS started in 1925. Your ideology is like this. Your ideology inherently promotes it. And therefore, you are the person who must be accused of this. I have no evidence, not a shred of evidence against you. But I have a political opinion against you. That is why, sir, I ask myself this question. Was he a truth investigator or was he a political pundit? And I cannot but say, the manner in which, for some of these commissions, the heads are chosen, sir. On an important matter, you've had inquiries whose precedents are cited for generations. The Vivian Bose inquiry, the Justice Das inquiry. These were all inquiries held in the 50s where you picked up the most illustrious sitting judge of the Supreme Court and asked him to inquire. When Britain was shaken by the Profumo scandal, you asked Lord Dennings to investigate and head a commission. Here, the incident which takes place, you go and choose a junior judge of Punjab High Court. How does your eyes fall on him, sir? Sir, there is a popular saying or a belief with all our appointment processes of judges at the bar when they say that there are two kinds of judges. There are those who know the law and there are those who know the law minister. And I am quite clear that this judge fell in the second category, and that is how a junior judge of the Punjab High Court was chosen.
Sorry, 1 second. Sir, Jaitley ji, please. Jaitley ji. Yes, please. No, please. Please, Jaitley ji. Jaitley ji, please. Please. No, please sit down. You sit down. Sit down, please. Sit down. Sit down.
मुझे बताइए ना आपका
प्रॉब्लम
क्या है?
Sit down there.
What is your problem?
Papa, sit down.
नहीं आपका प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
What is it? Please take your seat, Viplav.
बहुत बात है नहीं आई
Please take your seat.
समझ में नहीं आ रहा।
Please take your seat. Ask her to sit.
बात करते हैं
Sorry. Jaitley, hey, please. Please. Jaitley, see, Honorable LOP is an erudite leader, legal expert, legal luminary. I only request, please, what is this? I will leave you. Sit down there. You don't see I'm standing there. See, I only request personal aspersion against a judge should not be there.
Sir, I'll respect your ruling, but a commission of an inquiry which gives a report headed by a retired judge. Once we are debating and it has large ramifications, if you give to somebody the authority to make sweeping allegations against people, then perhaps all the facts will also have to be gone into. When I've said this, sir, a report must be a document which carries credibility. A report can't be a document which becomes a subject matter of an endless controversy. A report can't be a document which becomes unimplementable. A report can't be a document which becomes a national embarrassment, as I'll just show, as to what this report has done. Sir, the difficulty is that you pick up a puny judge who uses 17 years to perpetuate a self-employment, and then the character of the report almost appears to be an application for a future employment. If this is the kind of reports these commissions are going to give, I'm afraid the credibility of the entire institution will go down, and that is why we've read in newspapers judges and former judges now commenting whether judges should at all be heading such commissions, which are to be used for entering the political thicket rather than only going into judicially determinable matters. So what does this report say? Let me start off. When I said the report is probably an outsourced document, it is not, as Dr. Singhvi says, there is one trivial error here or there. If a judge has heard the evidence and the judge is writing the report, every fact he says will be connected to the document. Now, I think my friend Sitaram is here, he'll appreciate this. I turned page after page. I was reading page 282. Who is the leader of the Ayodhya movement, against whom they tried to find an evidence but could not find? Professor R.S. Sharma, Professor D.N. Jha. Two well-known leftist historians who appeared on the negotiating